Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, presented by Superbook Sports. Taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
2 more wins. 2 more wins. 2 more wins. What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Rachel V. Hill, D-Mac, Jake Shapiro. Very sleepy Jake Shapiro, or at least he should be. We'll get into life in Miami here in a little bit. But Jake, good morning. D-Mac, good morning. How are both of you?
Jake, let's go right to Jake.
I'm fantastic. I saw arguably the greatest Nuggets win ever. Arguably one of the greatest basketball games in the NBA Finals with Nikola Jokic 30-20-10, Jamal Murray triple-double. The stadium was electric. The atmosphere, like everything around the game was just fantastic. And then got to hang out with some of our lovely friends from fellow media outlets in Denver and then around the world yesterday. And I don't know, you just couldn't stop talking and thinking about the game. It was really hard to go to sleep last night. So I was up real late. It was up real late.
Okay, we're going to get to your life in Miami, but I do want to go back to the game because, wow, just a historic game. So let's start with Jokic and Murray. And I know you did a wonderful piece on that over at denversports.com, Jake.
Yeah, the whole thinking for my piece is we've all dreamt about what Jokic and Murray could be and what it could bring to the city of Denver. Mm-hmm. We're about 5 days away from all of those dreams coming true. You don't have to dream about this stuff anymore. It's like happening. If you were 20 years from now going to be like, what were Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray? You could just throw on game 3. Like that was a masterclass. That was the greatest they've ever played together as a duo. It might be, frankly, the best duo performance in NBA history. And the funny thing is I'm texting Will Peterson, our guy, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Nikola Jokic is having the greatest single game in NBA Finals history. And then by the end of the fourth quarter, I'm like, I think Jamal Murray might be having the second greatest game in NBA Finals history. So the two of them were fantastic. You know, what's amazing is the Nuggets didn't actually play all that well offensively, the rest of their team. Mm-hmm. But the two of them just carried everything. And what they brought to the team, it's the stuff of legends. It's the stuff of Forsberg, Sakic. It's the stuff of Elway Davis. It's in that breath.
Here's what's bananas. They were actually kind of lousy from the outside. Can you believe it? I mean, it's crazy. I think they only shot, Jake, and you have the sheet right there. 25%.
And they only made 5 3-pointers.
5 3-pointers.
And they only made 1 in the second half. Their offensive rating in the second half was a 119, which means they would score 119 points per 100 possessions. Over the course of the regular season, the Nuggets' offensive rating across the board was 122. So that means the Nuggets basically had their league historically good offense in the second half with only hitting 1 3-pointer, which is unbelievably hard to wrap your head around.
Real quick, Jamal and Jokic, I believe, make up the 4 of them. Who is the other 3?
There was a 3 from Christian Brown. Okay. And there was, no, that one didn't go in. Bruce Brown hit a 3. Bruce Brown is the only guy who hit a 3 that wasn't one of those 2.
Yeah, listen, I'll just get it out of the way. Michael Porter Jr. and KCP are not playing well offensively. They're not. But they're contributing in other sort of ways, okay? And you got to I actually feel for Michael Porter Jr. a little bit right now. I mean, on one hand, of course, you're thrilled because the team is doing what they're doing. And I understand Aaron Gordon gave a nice kind of pat on the back saying you're going to get your powers back from the Monstars, a Space Jam reference. And I do think he will. But here's what's amazing about this team. You know what? I guess they don't really need Michael Porter Jr. to win an NBA championship. I definitely thought they did. But, as long as you've got Jokic and Murray going, you got to get somebody else in the mix. And last night it was Christian Brown. But to Christian, Christian Brown was great. Christian Brown was absolutely fantastic. And he wasn't a defensive liability in the fourth quarter like he was in game 2. But the reason why he was so great was because of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and his own, athleticism and aggressiveness. But look what Jokic and Murray were doing to help out Christian Brown. And I give Christian credit for that because I think he was taking advantage of a situation that Michael Porter Jr. wasn't. So what is going to happen, guys? Seriously. And it may not happen because it doesn't have to happen. But what happens if KCP and Michael Porter Jr. just play average like they have during the regular season?
It's a good question, to be fair. But I feel like there's always been one other player who's stepped up, right? Like, it's either Bruce Brown or in this case, Christian Brown. Like, there's always somebody else who has stepped up. I don't think that MPJ and KCP, that's going to be the end of it. I'm sure we're going to see, if we only have 2 more games left, which hopefully we do, we're going to see somebody else who can step up, even if it's not one of those 2 guys. So I don't think it's really the end of the world. As long as your 2 main ones are able to step up, you're going to have somebody else at the end of the day. And if you don't, that's when I think there's going to be some trouble in Nuggets Nation.
Yeah, but let me go. Like, how do the Heat stop Jokic and Murray? How does it happen?
They don't. But to answer your question about Christian Brown, the Nuggets needed a 3rd player in that game.
Mm-hmm.
At halftime, I'm sitting there going, everything's good, but I'm nervous because they haven't had the 3rd player yet. And Christian Brown in the 3rd quarter became that 3rd player. And he was maybe the lowest on the totem pole, him and Jeff Green, of which of the Nuggets rotation guys could be that 3rd player. I think MPJ is going to continue to play. Obviously, KCP is going to continue to play. And they have the ability to become that 3rd player over the course of the game. MPJ, let's not get it twisted, was one of the best players on the floor in game 1 without hitting shots.
Yeah.
We're now at game 3, and he's had 2 really bad games in a row. Yesterday was just okay-ish. So I'm not completely downtrodden off MPJ. Something seems to be going on there, whether it's something mental, if it's maybe a physical ailment. But I have more concerns with MPJ moving forward in the Nuggets' future than I do in this series. I just don't think he's a correct matchup in this series.
Real quick, this is a side note. Did MPJ not go to the dinner at Jeff Green's house? There was like talk of it, and then we saw the group picture. He wasn't there, so I'm just curious. Oh, boy.
This was a debate yesterday on the drive. And I have looked into it, and it appears as though everyone was at the dinner, as pointed out by Michael Malone at the house, but he was not in the pictures we saw. Granted, there was only 2 pictures. So,
okay, he was there. Nobody's lying. There's no big cover up. If he said the whole team was there, he's part of the whole team. Let's not stir up trouble where it doesn't really need to exist, unless you really know something different. I'll just assume everybody was there.
I was just honestly wondering. I was like, maybe MPJ is taking the picture. Who knows?
But let me tell you, that dinner was awesome. That dinner was awesome. It's what they needed. They needed a moment where I think all props to Michael Malone. He knows his team better than anybody. He's proven it. We definitely had some question marks about his approach. I don't think it worked with Michael Porter Jr., but I do think it worked with the team. I think with the shooter, you just got to have unbridled confidence to let them shoot. And Michael Porter Jr. doesn't have that, and he shouldn't, because if he's not feeling it, he's going to sit on the bench. And that's just the way it goes. He's not going to be allowed to shoot out of a slump. He's going to be given a shot and probably 3 or 4 shots at the beginning of a game. And if they're not falling, I mean, that's a wrap. I mean, there's so many times that I see like Jamal Murray or somebody else just not even look for him, not even to look to get him the ball, because I think they know whether or not he's got it or not. I think Michael Porter Jr. is all about the first quarter, and he did take the first shot of the game. How great would that have been had it gone down? It didn't. He got 1 bucket on a tough inside play, and that was the wrap. And other than that, he more or less just sat on the bench. He did get 7 rebounds, which was cool. But again, you've got to give Christian Brown credit. He was more aggressive. He was more physical. He demanded the ball just a little bit more, and he got a nice assist to Jokic one time too. His steal and dunk was like the dagger, which made it a 21-point lead with like 8 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's no coming back even after that. And what was incredible to me is that Spoelstra pulled the plug, and all of a sudden the Heat made kind of a weird little rally right there because of Duncan Robinson. I was wondering if the Nuggets were actually even going to win the quarter. They did by 1 point. So they got it by 1 point, and that's nothing to snooze on, considering the Heat are plus 90 in the fourth quarter. So the Nuggets got their fourth quarter win. It was just an awesome performance. So I'm not going to say that's it. I'm not going to talk about it again because all the talk should go towards Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. I mean, and how just amazing the two of them were together.
Well, let's go back to them. Best game we can all agree that we've seen from that duo there. So is it a realistic expectation that we can expect that in game 4?
No. Here's the thing, though.
Well, I don't know, Jake. Look at their numbers. Their numbers are really, really interesting. It's Jokic was barely over 50% from the floor, and Jamal was just a pinch under 50%. I mean, is that really crazy?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. For both of them to have 10 assists is a little crazy. The secondary part of it is Jokic with 21 rebounds and Murray with 10. Jokic 21 rebounds, I think, is repeatable. Jamal with 10 is crazy. The last time, and the Nuggets out-rebounded the Heat by 25. The last time a team in the finals out-rebounded their opponents by 25 or more was 1972. Wow. This doesn't happen. So when I talk about can both guys go for 30 points, 34, 32 on somewhat efficient shooting, they were fine. Yeah, that totally can happen. I don't think Jamal Murray's ever grabbing 10 rebounds in a finals game again. I don't know if that's going to set itself up. But I did say to you, D-Mac, yesterday on the show, I said an important number to watch on the drive was Jamal Murray had 21 potential assists in game 2, and they missed a lot of open shots off Jamal's passing. So Jamal has actually been the facilitator for the Nuggets for 2 games now. And obviously everything's working off Nikola. So I think in terms of the style in which they're playing, that is repeatable. I'm just fascinated with these two because what they did in yesterday's game is better than anything Shaq and Kobe has done. It's better than any single game Magic and Kareem has had. It's better than any single game Jordan and Pippen had. It is incredible. No one has ever had 2 30-point triple-doubles in the same game across NBA history, 135,000 NBA games, and they were the first people to do it in the NBA Finals on the road with the series tied 1-1 against the best defense in the playoffs. It's incredible.
Do you guys think that Malone was smelling that? Because I actually tweeted, looks like a Kitchener double for Jamal Murray because he was 1 rebound short. Mm-hmm. And Udonis Haslem was in the game, for crying out loud. And Malone left his starters in.
I have something on that. So he subbed out Nikola and he subbed out someone else. He couldn't sub out Jamal because all of the substitutions, all the breaks were when Jamal was shooting free throws. So he couldn't get Jamal off the floor, even if he had tried to. So if you were to say, oh, he left Jamal in for a fishy triple-double, not really. He couldn't have taken him out unless there was a timeout called.
Interesting.
Okay. Hey, we're happy to have it. Of course, they're the Nuggets. All they do is stat pad. We all know that anyway. So.
Of course. This is also silly talk anyways. Jake, you probably didn't get to see this, but D-Mac, you did as we were watching the game on TV. Jeff Green talking to Aaron Gordon and kind of coaching him up. And I loved that moment. And I see somebody who had just commented about Jeff Green. And I want to get to it. Let me find it real quick. Something about Jeff Green minutes. Not sure why Jeff Green needs 17 minutes. 8 to 10 Jeff Green minutes is more than enough. But we know that Michael Malone loves his veterans to be out there. So why are we seeing so many Jeff Green minutes?
I don't have any problems with it right now. I mean, it's he's a big, tall, athletic, physical dude. He's had really good games. You don't really count on Jeff Green for scoring anyways. The fact that he does or he can is just a benefit. I think Jeff Green's playing pretty good.
Yeah, he missed 2 rotations last night in a row that led to back-to-back threes. That was really brutal. He had a stretch in I think it was the second quarter where it just wasn't working out. But in general, Jeff has been pretty solid in these playoffs. The thing is, if you're not going to play Jeff, and he played 17 and a half minutes last night, if you're not going to play Jeff those 17 and a half minutes, you either have to give them to Porter or Bruce Brown. Christian Brown's a little bit too small. He doesn't really comp with Jeff Green. So you need either Porter to step up Bruce Brown to step up. And again, he's small. So you don't really have a perfect South, particularly with the way Porter's playing. But again, because this was the talk yesterday after the game was the Porter stuff. We can't forget how big Porter was against Phoenix. And I would still not be surprised if Porter had a nice game in games 4 or 5. But yeah, you can't just replace Jeff Green with Christian Brown, as nice as that would. But I would love to see more Christian Brown minutes. He is a great matchup in this series.
Well, he got 19. How many more do you want?
2, 3, maybe. Not much more.
I don't know, man. Like, I think they got it. Listen, I thought Christian Brown, I got nothing. I wrote about him at denversports.com. I got nothing but great things to say about him. But let's just keep some reality in mind that his 15 points last night were as many points as he's had, like, in all the playoffs, something like that, or at least the finals. I don't know, something like that. Like, was it all the playoffs? Was it all the playoffs?
No. He had a 9-point playoff game earlier, so it definitely wasn't all the playoffs. Fun little Christian Brown fact, he's outscoring Michael Porter Jr. in the finals now.
That is funny. That is a trip.
What do you do with that?
We're up 2-1. Enough dumping on Michael Porter Jr., okay? I mean, my goodness gracious. What is wrong with us? You know, as a collective. I saw your eye roll there, Rachel. I know nonverbal dumping on a guy when I see it.
But what do you do with MPJ in game 4?
Play him. You play him.
Of course you play him.
You start him. You keep him in the regular rotation. And Michael Malone absolutely is well within his rights to play the fourth quarter any way he wants. But it would be insane to do anything different. I see some people saying you should start Christian Brown instead of Michael Porter Jr. That is a bananas thought, okay? The great thing that he does for you right now, Christian Brown, is bring you that energy off the bench. And he is still a rookie. He will make mistakes like he made in game 2. He just was really, 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 really awesome in game 3, okay? You really don't – listen, man, welcome back. The Nuggets are the danger. The Nuggets are the one that knocks. The Nuggets are going to dictate what the Heat have to do, not the other way around. Why would you change anything?
Or were you guys surprised that Spo took his starters out? We're talking an NBA Finals game. And
no, I mean, and the threes. Hey, Duncan Robinson, welcome to the world of Troy Tulowitzki hitting home runs down 9-2 in the 8th. You know, I mean, dude, he was a complete no-show in that game and then hit a couple of deep bombs. Okay, it's nice to know that you can hit shots when the pressure's off, dude. No, I don't blame Spo for doing that because any element of pressure makes these guys wilt, apparently. These Heat are the reason they're great come from behind is they play well when they have nothing to lose. Look how they perform when something's really on the line. You know, it's bananas how bad they are.
It's true. I mean, they had to come from behind this season to get into the play-in. They lost the first play-in game, and then they were down at home in the second play-in game. And then once they had nothing to lose, they played well, and that's how it was most of the playoffs as well. I'm on board with D-Mac there. But to D-Mac's point, if you're Michael Malone, you cannot change a single thing moving forward in this series unless there's a game 7. Because the fact of the matter is after 3 games, without changing much, and granted there's some coverage changes and stuff, but like the rotation and like the big picture stuff and what you're trying to accomplish, you have crushed the Heat in games 1 and 3. And the only reason they won game 2 is a historically hot shooting performance. So if you're going to play this out over the next 3 games, 4, 5, and 6, we're going to win those games unless the Heat have another historically hot shooting performance. And we can even afford one more historically hot Heat shooting performance. So you're Michael Malone. You are not changing anything. You are just rolling this out. And again, I go back, Porter had 7 rebounds. He contributed. He did something last night. Brown got a couple huge offensive rebounds. Those rebounding numbers are huge because it's not just that the Heat have to outshoot the Nuggets to an absurd degree. It's the Heat have to find a way to keep the rebounding margin manageable. They also have to get the Jimmy Butler game. And they also have to get something from Vincent or Martin or both maybe at the same time in order to beat the Nuggets. They just need so many things to go right. in order to beat this Nuggets team. And I think we're going to be looking back on this series in a couple years and saying, wow, in retrospect, the Nuggets were so much better than the Heat. Okay, I was trying to get through that without sneezing.
Bless you. Well, we know Michael Malone has preached about the rebounding game for literally all season. So I do want to go because, Jake, I know you have to go to shoot around here in a little bit, but I saw one of the comments. I love watching the fans totally give up and leave the game early. Tell us about it being down there in Miami. I, of course, need a food breakdown as well.
Tons of Nuggets fans.
Awesome.
Tons of Nuggets fans. Not obviously the majority, but you see a lot of cool Nuggets fans. A lot of celebrities last night, like a ton. Even like stuff that like everyone saw Neymar and DJ Khaled and stuff, but like even like Mike Miller, former Nugget, was there. So like you're getting like a lot of basketball people. Jalen Williams, whose brother Cody's going to be at CU, he was there. So good amount of basketball folk were there. Paolo Banchero, who won Rookie of the Year. The Miami Heat fans, I think, were crushed in a way that didn't make sense for them to stay there. I was getting some messages back on me posting about them leaving the stadium quite early, with them calling the Heat fans fair weather fans. I don't know, man. I wouldn't be able to sit there with 8 minutes left watching my team go down 21 in a finals game. I'd be out of there too. That's not a fair weather fan. That's a heartbroken fan right there. So the Nuggets took the soul of the Miami Heat, crushed it on their home floor, won home court back. They said X-nay on the culture stuff. And it was impressive. And then you go around town yesterday, and so many more people here are fascinated by the Panthers, who play Game 3 of the Stanley Cup tonight. Mm-hmm. And there were a bunch of Messi jerseys yesterday in the crowd because everyone, and there's a huge Argentine population in Miami. It's an unlimited excitement for Messi to come to Miami. So you could make the case that the finals were the third most important thing happening in Miami yesterday. And there was a feeling of that, but I will also say it was 2 times louder in that arena than it was Ball Arena. It was so loud in there.
Really?
That's what Orlando Franklin had tweeted out too.
Wow.
Yeah.
That seems hard to believe.
Okay, real quick. Well, 2 things on this. I see this question. Rachel, how do you feel about Messi signing with Inter Miami? Jake, you first.
So I covered MLS for a couple of years. I actually got tipped off about this in 2019 that Miami was hot on Messi and they were going to try and make it work later on in his career. This is a boon for American soccer. It is instantly making MLS way more important. This is no longer a retirement league. Messi is still near the prime of his career. He just won the World Cup. This is going to be one of the biggest things that has happened to American soccer, if not the biggest thing that has happened to American soccer. Meanwhile, Messi's going to run roughshod over the league. I've heard some rumblings that Messi's not going to be the only guy who comes over here, but you have to also consider this. Messi said no to a $1 billion contract from the Saudis. $1 billion. He said no, so he could get an ownership stake in the club as well as partner with Apple TV to join MLS. So the deal Messi got was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So that is a fascinating thing MLS did in order to make that deal happen. And now Messi is going to learn what it's like to fly across the country and play in Commerce City and Detroit and San Diego and all these places that aren't Miami.
Is he going to be playing in Commerce City or downtown Denver?
So I heard a rumor, and this is completely unconfirmed, that if Inter Miami, who, by the way, has been a team in MLS since 2018, they have not played the Rapids yet, so they haven't even played in Denver. But if Inter Miami were to play in Colorado, there's a chance that that game would get moved to Mile High Stadium in order to fit the crowd, which goes to show you because the Rapids don't even sell out most of their home games at 20,000, and they would expect that to be an 80,000 seat sellout. And I wrote about this yesterday on denversports.com, but the cheapest ticket last night to get in the door was like $320 a couple hours before the game. The cheapest ticket to go to the game that Messi might debut in, not even confirmed, was $370. Wow. So, yeah, they're more excited for Messi than they are anything else. And it's honestly cool as a soccer fan to see a city route. And this is a great hotbed for soccer because of the Latino culture down here. But it's great to see that a city can get behind a soccer team, particularly in MLS, because there's only a couple cities that have really fell in love with their soccer teams, Portland being one of them. And this is the start or the continuation of something special with MLS, and it's going to be very fun.
I think it made MLS relevant again, which is super exciting. Cristiano Ronaldo was linked to Sporting Kansas City. That deal fell through, so I'm really excited to see Messi be going to Miami. Real quick, I need a food breakdown, Jake. You know me. How was the food down there?
The media food, they made you pay.
Wow, really?
Bad. And I didn't even go down that lane because I saw it and I was like, So I waited and I had the food straight from the NBA at the little media party afterward the game. That was fantastic. 2 for 2 on the nights that I've gone with that. Today I'm going to get out there and experiment, try some food, maybe hit a Jewish deli, see what I can find down here.
Can you find one there?
I mean, it's Miami. There's a lot of Jews. We're going to find my people.
Find my people. Okay, well, keep us updated on Twitter. Let us know what you're up to all day long. We'll check back in with you tomorrow. As always, Jake, thank you so much. We'll move on to some Broncos news because the Miami Dolphins and Denver Broncos are two of the teams that are expected to have an interest in running back Dalvin Cook once he is officially released. So we will bring in our very own Will Peterson. Good morning, Will. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. I know you got the story this morning on Dalvin. Is there anything else you can tell us besides these two teams being interested?
Well, they're going to try to trade him in the next 24 hours. So he's not been released yet, but it's that old, well, if we can't trade him by today, we'll release him tomorrow. That sort of tells you all you need to know, that Miami is desperate to get someone to see if they can nibble for any sort of draft pick at this point. Minnesota, not Miami, desperate. But I think, guys, the bombshell here is that Schefter puts the Dolphins, who we've heard about for weeks, and the Broncos in the same tweet. So, Mike Kliss had said in a mailbag that he wasn't hearing this. And then Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk reported that Mike was hearing it. And then Kliss fired back at Florio and said, whoa, what are you talking about? I never said I'm hearing that. And then today we get Schefter saying, no, actually the Broncos are very interested. There's the connection. George Payton obviously was in Minnesota when Dalvin Cook was drafted up there. He's made the last 4 Pro Bowls. He has nearly 6,000 rushing yards, 52 total touchdowns in his career. Went for 1,200 last year and 8 scores. Like, people are saying, oh, he's 28. That's ancient for a running back. Okay, but if you combine him with Javonte Williams and with Samaje Perine, they have about $10 million in cap. Maybe this is why they cut McManus and Martin, pay him $7-8 million bucks. Like, guys, this is exciting. I mean, he's not the same player he was 2-3 years ago, but Dalvin Cook's still a major player when it comes to NFL running backs.
This is going to take a little courage here, because why would Dalvin Cook choose the Broncos over the Dolphins aside from money? I mean, you can always win with money. That is true. But boy, we're going to roll some dice. Do you guys think the Broncos will bite and make a trade?
I mean, they have the money, right? I mean, how much money do you think Dalvin Cook wants?
He wants as much as he can get. But
I'd be careful, because if you trade for him, you got to take the contract, right? And the contract is way more than you would pay him for a 1-year deal. I can look it up, but it's in the double-digit millions. So you need him to get released. And as Mace pointed out, you don't have any draft capital left. So, Rachel, I think trading's off the table. I think you're keeping your fingers crossed he does get released in the next 24 hours and then picks the Denver Broncos, something D-Mac seems very, very skeptical about.
All right, so why does he pick the Broncos over the Dolphins?
Well, he knows George Payton, for one. 2, he can be a bona fide starter probably for the first 4 weeks, because as optimistic as they want to be about Javonte, he shredded his knee last October. So unless he has an Adrian Peterson-style comeback, Dalvin Cook's getting 20, 25 carries a game for the first month, and if he's great, he's just going to keep the job. Whereas in Miami, you've got Tyreek Hill, you've got Jalen Waddle, you've got Tua. That's a pass-first team. That team isn't looking to run the ball like the Broncos are.
Okay. All right.
Well, I don't know why, if you're Dalvin Cook, you would be like, let's go to the Denver Broncos over Miami. So, Will, I'm here for your interest, though. I'm here for it.
Well, I think when Schefter puts it on there that, there's 2 teams that are supposed to be interested, Schefter's hearing that the Broncos are making a strong push, and you would like to think that there's some mutual interest there, because why else would Schefter include that unless Dalvin had already made his mind up that he was going to Miami, you know?
Well, we had actually, I had heard weeks ago the Broncos might be interested in Dalvin Cook. That wasn't really much of a mystery. I just felt like once Miami sort of got in the mix, that it was going to be difficult to get past them. But hey, man, you never know. You never know. And now a lot of things make sense, though. Now, clearing the decks and the Brandon McManus and all,
and
everything
Sean Payton
else.
at his presser saying, we're still looking at other players during free agency.
Yeah, now it all kind of clicks in together. And don't forget, they were very optimistic initially about Javonte Williams. Then they just kind of, backed off of that once they got to see him. And I'm just saying that, hey, Javonte, like Will said, we're probably talking about week 5, week 6, something like that, more so than the beginning of the season. I think it's exciting. I think they've put themselves in a position to get him. And with P. Ryan and Javonte Williams and Dalvin Cook and the biggest offensive line I've ever seen in the NFL, all of a sudden you can sort of see a way of how the Broncos going to operate. And, you put Russell Wilson in less danger and ask less out of him. I don't know if that justifies the $50 million he's getting, but whatever, it probably gives you a better chance to win.
I just thought of the perfect thing real quick. Guys, here's how we're going to settle this. The winner of the NBA Finals gets Dalvin Cook.
Hey,
if the Heat come back and win, the Miami Dolphins can have him. If our Nuggets hang on, he's going to the Denver Broncos. How do you like that?
Perfect. I like it a lot, for sure. I'm reading the comments to see what people are thinking. Let's see. Roll the dice and move the mice. Chicago is a dark horse. I believe in acquiring Dalvin Cook. Would Cook have to clear waivers? Is a question mark from RJ Bush.
I don't think so, because he's a veteran. I believe when you're a veteran after so many years, you don't have to go through the waiver process.
Okay. Sean Payton has made the running backs in New Orleans stars. That's a good reason to come. Okay, if you're Dalvin Cook, when you look at Sean Payton over Mike McDaniels, which coach do you go for? The young, fun, trendy one, or the more old school vet coach?
I mean, Mike's a rising star, don't get me wrong, but Sean Payton's got as good a resume as everyone in the NFL except for, maybe Andy Reid, obviously Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin, but he's got a top 5 resume. Why wouldn't you want to come play for Sean Payton?
I think I think this is just simply, guys, going to come down to money. Unless Dalvin Cook just wants to go to the Dolphins were a playoff team last year, guys. So, let's just call it what it is. And, hey, I love Denver. I wouldn't want to live anywhere but Colorado. But I do understand Miami, is a fun place too. So, I don't know, man. I think the Broncos are going to have to outbid the Dolphins. And I think money talks in general. Other than that, I don't really know how they get them. I don't know why the Broncos are a better situation than Miami if it's not for money. Sorry.
Comment. If I was Cincinnati, I'd cut Joe Mixon ASAP and give all that money to Cook. Wow.
This is going to be interesting. Dalvin Cook's going to be highly regarded by a lot of teams. You really don't – listen, I get it. Schefter – and this is what Schefter would tell you, because I've talked to Adam about stuff like this a million times. He would say, well, what I put out was true at the time. That's who was the most interested. Things change, so what I did was right. I'm not wrong. It's not an old takes exposed. It's exactly what existed at the time. And once that happened, other things happened too. So I wouldn't say it's just the Dolphins or the Broncos right now, but I certainly would say I get it, what the Broncos have been amping up for, and you can see why they're going to give it their best shot. I get it. I think we all get it now.
I saw this other comment. It says, let's get Zeke.
Zeke.
My
Zeke.
Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, both have been on the slump downwards. Let's just put it that way.
Whoa. Dalvin Cook is a much better player than Ezekiel Elliott. His
production hasn't been what it was.
Dalvin is doing this, Rachel. Zeke has done this.
Zeke is like 5 pounds away from being on The Biggest Loser on NBC. I mean, what? Dalvin Cook is 27 and in great shape.
I'm here for Dalvin. I'm just trying to give a little bit to the comment section.
Zeke is toast. I don't know if he even plays in the NFL anymore.
Yeah. I haven't heard any rumblings about Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, rightfully so.
That's all I'm saying. Tommy, I'm sorry. I don't think anyone wants Zeke. So I think you're on that island all by yourself. How is Dalvin in pass protection? We got asked. Anybody?
Who cares? The irrelevant. He is the freaky running back who can run and can catch. He is that combo meal. He is that Christian McCaffrey sort of dude. How does he block? How do I do math? Who cares? It doesn't matter.
And real quick on that, I'm not going to break down the tape because I'm not tape guy. But guys, Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson was like the most dynamic duo in the NFL last year. So clearly he had enough time to find Justin Jefferson. I don't think, even if it's not a strength, it certainly wasn't a concern. Kirk Cousins threw the football all over the damn field.
He'll be fine, and that he'll be good enough.
So running back by committee, Dalvin Cook, Javonte Williams, P. Ryan. What grade are you giving that if the Broncos can make it happen?
A+. Are you kidding me?
That's 2 potential Pro Bowlers and a backup who's played on a team that was a great backup for a Super Bowl contender the last couple of years.
A+.
Well, can the Broncos make it happen? We'll, of course, keep you updated at Denver.
So you would have an A+ backfield. You would have at the worst, B+ receiving core. If we get the production out of Dulcich that we want, we'd have at worst a B+, if not A- tight end group. And then
at worst B- for wide receivers, though.
At worst, probably a B. I think they have A- potential, but at worst B, you'd have a solid A offensive line group. I really do believe in this offensive line right now. And then the humongo question is quarterback. That is the biggest. I mean, if they get Dalvin Cook, I'm telling you, man, this team is set up offensively with the gargantuan question mark about number 3. And that's it. I mean, there would not be many question marks across the rest of the board.
Can we go back to the wide receiver? Did they upgrade their wide receiver group a whole lot? Because
Tim Patrick came. They drafted Marvin Mims and they get Tim Patrick back. And Jerry Jeudy's the best player on the team.
Yeah, but we don't know about. I love Tim Patrick. Don't get me wrong, but we don't know what he's going to actually look like. And Cortland Sutton was not a B.
I said B with A- potential. I mean, I don't think it's that crazy. Do you think I'm wrong?
But you said at worst B-. I feel like at worst we could see a C-. Will, am I wrong on that? I just feel like
you're not wrong.
Hype him up.
If Cortland Sutton's never the same player again, which he's trending in that direction, if Tim Patrick pulls a Cortland Sutton coming back from the ACL, if Jerry Jeudy's disgruntled, unhappy with his number of targets, if Marvin Mims is KJ Hamler 2.0, and if KJ Hamler doesn't even make the team, then it could be a D. I mean, I understand this.
Oh my God, Will.
Okay,
if a toad had wings, it wouldn't bump its butt on a lily pad. I mean, you can go down the road of like how bad things could be if this and if that. But what is it right there on the surface?
I thought we were doing the ceiling and the floor. Ceiling is an A-, floor is a D. Nothing I said of those 5 guys is that outlandish that worst case scenario it could happen. Do you want me to go best case scenario? Do you want me to go positive PD here?
Let's assume everybody's healthy and play it on paper right now. What do you
Great.
think?
Jerry Jeudy emerges as a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Cortland Sutton regains his form from before the ACL tear. Tim Patrick has an unbelievable comeback where you can't even tell he missed a beat. And Marvin Mims is what they thought they were getting in KJ Hamler, and he's catching 60-yard touchdowns. Boom, there's an A. I can be positive too. I'm just telling you, the range is really big, and I think that's what Rachel was getting at.
Yeah, so just say that the worst could be a B- caught me a little off guard. I would have let it slide if you would have said a C- maybe, but to say the worst is a B- is a questionable take there, D-Mac.
Listen, let's hope for everybody's health and everybody gets well. Listen, everything can change based on injuries. Right now, Cortland Sutton's the fourth best receiver on this team. And I don't know what they do with KJ Hamler, but you're going to have, and I assume they're healthy, and I hope so. But you get Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, Marvin Mims, and then Cortland Sutton. After that, I mean, I don't know. Who knows? And I'm sorry to see that KJ Hamler's not really even on my list right now. But listen, that's the strength of the team, okay? It's a really solid room. The offensive line is really solid. Getting Dalvin Cook would certainly shore up the running back position. And we've been told that Dulcich now is the greatest thing since sliced bread. So I guess I still go back to my main point, which is the biggest question mark is the quarterback.
And that's what Tommy even says. The whole thing is contingent on number 3. And yes, that is true. Lots of Bronco talk to be had during the offseason too as OTAs. We have a last practice, right? Today?
Last practice of the final OTA is actually, it's going on right now. I'll be scooting on over here just as soon as we're done. And then we have mandatory mini camp next week, next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And will we have a field day or not on the final day of mandatory minicamp?
No field day. I'm telling you, no field day.
Sean Payton does not seem like a field day guy to me. I can't imagine that happens in year 1. Maybe if they win 11, 12 games, they'll do it in year 2. It's not happening in year 1.
Yeah, exactly. No field day. Although we should have a field day, everybody. I like that idea for sure. We should have a field day. But I do want to get back to the Nuggets because, Will, you obviously weren't with us for our talk earlier this morning. But Christian freaking Brown had the game of a lifetime for him. And to be honest, I feel like it got pushed under the rug a little bit with the dynamic duo of Jamal Murray and Jokic. But let's highlight Christian Brown really quick because he's a rookie and we know Michael Malone. He doesn't always play the rookie. So I feel like this is just a huge change. And I'm so happy to see him back in the lineup after we all thought that he was going to be benched for the rest of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, guys, Nikola Jokic himself said Christian Brown was the reason we won the game. That's Jokic deflecting. I get it. But the Heat didn't go on their standard third, fourth quarter run because Christian Brown played like a man possessed. This guy got drafted 349 days ago and then took over the second half of Game 3 of the NBA Finals. That is unreal. His intensity is high. The video of him dunking and then yelling at the crowd is spot on. He had 2 assists to Nikola Jokic. He attacked the rim ferociously. He finished around the rim, most importantly. And his defense was very good and even got a shout-out from the Grinches themselves, Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson. So what more could you want from Christian Brown last night? To use the Zach Bye analogy, if a little alien came down from Earth and said, who has the max contract, MPJ or Christian Brown, they would have thought it's Christian Brown.
Real quick, I found this picture on Twitter. Look at this, you guys. This is Christian Brown as a child. Can you find him for me? Anybody?
The tall kid in the back row?
Nope.
Hold on. Keep it up. Oh, he's number 13, lower right.
Yep. Christian Brown as a kid. I don't know what grade this is. I couldn't find that information, but you do love to see it. And I also learned that his freshman year of high school, he was cut from the varsity basketball team. Would anybody?
A lot of kids get cut their freshman year when they're 14 from the varsity basketball team.
But then his sophomore, junior, and senior year, they go on to win a championship. He obviously won a championship at Kansas, and now he could be one of 5 players to win a NBA Finals and an NCAA championship in back-to-back years. The history of Christian Brown, he knows how to win.
Let me tell you something. Magical things happen to boys between the ages of 14 and 15. It's an incredible summer. Let me tell you, it's something else. And I was looking at Christian Brown the other day, a warm-up before Game 2. First of all, he's 6'7". I don't know if people realize actually just physically how tall he is. And he is yoked. I mean, he is huge like that. So, and he's got to have, I don't know, guys, 38, 42-inch vertical with a running start. I mean, something like that. I mean, he is a freaky combination of size, strength, speed, quickness. What he doesn't have right now is a reliable outside shot. And he's got a lot of experience in terms of how quickly things go defensively in an NBA game, despite playing the vast majority of the year. That being said, his you're probably going to need somebody to replace Bruce Brown next year. Do you guys think, not MPJ, but probably the first step is just to replace the minutes and contribution of Bruce Brown? Do you guys think Christian Brown is that guy?
Yeah, absolutely. He earned that last night. I said not only don't give him more minutes next year, give him more minutes the rest of this year. I'm comfortable with Christian Brown playing 20, 25 minutes a game right now, D-Mac. And when they trade MPJ, they'll get a lot of assets back too. So that's another wrinkle to all of this, that Christian Brown is not only a rotation guy next year, he may be a starter when it's all said and done. When you do that in Game 3 of the NBA Finals, you earn that right. And also, I saw you shaking your head about my Christian Brown looked like the max guy and MPJ didn't. I'd be curious anything that was wrong with that statement.
Yeah, because it's an oversimplification based off of one game rather than the context of, everything. But
the aliens came and watched one game. That's what I was saying.
I get it. But you didn't know that the Monstars were going to give MPJ his powers back. That's what Aaron Gordon told MPJ. Listen, I get it. Everybody's going to be dumping on MPJ today, and I'm going to look like the MPJ apologist. Okay, fine. But I can even say, I think Malone's strategy worked for the team. I don't know if it worked for Michael Porter Jr., but at this point, who cares? That doesn't matter. Either it works or it didn't, and it did work for the team. They played much better defensively. They out-rebounded the Heat by 25. It was a historic night for Jokic and Jamal Murray. And I don't think Michael Malone was taking shots at Jamal Murray, but I think the overall message did strike a chord with Murray. So he was kind of like collateral damage on the comments, but I actually do think it made a difference. I just don't think it's the right way to get the best out of Michael Porter Jr. But again, who cares? That doesn't matter at this point. So when you say when they trade him, I actually could see how that could happen. I could. And I could see how trading him would be the best thing, frankly, possibly for everybody. It would just, the potential talent of Michael Porter Jr. guys is through the roof. But if it's not the right mix with the coach and the player, okay, and you still have two superstars like Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, which you do, you can't mess around. You just can't. It was the right thing to get rid of Bones Highland. And you know what? You may be right on that. I mean, you could probably get some significant value for Michael Porter Jr., and Michael Malone's not going anywhere. So this just might be an oil and water situation. It's not to say Malone's a bad coach or Michael Porter Jr. is a bad player. They just might not be the right mix together. Bones was different. Bones was just bad for the locker room and everything like that. I mean, that was an easy sort of deal to make. Moving on for Michael Porter Jr. would be a much, much, much more difficult decision.
I like how you described it as like oil and water, but do we think that it is the coaching, or do we think that Michael Porter Jr. is too much in his head, maybe a little bit? Because that I feel like that can also play a really big impact on how a lot of people play. Like sometimes in those big moments, people just collapse. I mean, Michael Porter Jr. was pretty decent during the regular season, but in those big moments, sometimes
Michael Porter Jr. was pretty decent in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Michael Porter Jr. had 7 rebounds yesterday.
But offensively, and I think that's what they want him to be. He hasn't ever been the headline of Michael Porter Jr. goes off in the NBA playoffs. It's
a bad time for him to be in a shooting slump. But so is KCP, and nobody's throwing him out with the trash.
Yeah, but hold on. KCP didn't pout, right? KCP didn't drape himself in towels on the bench during an NBA Finals game. Like, Michael Porter Jr. is a big fan of Michael Porter Jr., KCP's a big fan of the Denver Nuggets. So I don't love Michael Porter Jr.'s sort of attitude last night, I guess. Like, you can't just sulk, dude, because it's the NBA Finals. You need to go out there and show that you care. And sitting like this on the bench with towels draped over you, I'm sure I look ridiculous there, a bad angle. But that's what Michael Porter Jr. was doing when he got benched in the first half. And that, to me, as a fan, was so disappointing when they're pursuing their first title in their existence.
Oh, my God. God forbid you're just a little bummed because you're letting yourself down. God forbid that you have an emotional reaction because you're disappointed in how you're playing. Oh, my God. What a jerk. I mean, come on, guys. You don't give a guy a little forgiveness for just – that's not selfishness. That's not putting himself above the team. All that is human emotion to frustration in how he's playing. That's not how he was the whole game. That's not how he was afterwards. Listen, he's frustrated with himself, and he's not a drag on the team. I promise you that. I know that's not a drag inside that locker room. That's not the case, okay? So,
why wasn't he in the photo at Jeff Green's house then, D-Mac?
Because he was standing like a foot to the left. His body got cut off by the photographer.
Oh, so this is a Von Miller, John Elway situation?
No. I mean, not everybody was in the holy cow. Man, oh, man, oh, man. I'm sticking up for some common sense and logic here.
I'm looking up this picture because I didn't look like anybody got cut off. So
I saw a picture where somebody's body got cut off, and it was a tall person.
Okay.
I don't know. Listen, the dinner was great. The dinner was awesome.
Dinner was awesome.
I'm just looking it up. Hold
I
on.
mean, it looked like the guys who wanted to be at dinner were at dinner, so that's great news. I saw Nikola Jokic there. He loved being at dinner. That was awesome.
You know what? I think that is MPJ.
Yes. Thank you.
I'll actually give it to you. It does look like MPJ.
Yeah, you got to have his body cut. His, head. It's like his arm.
Then they cropped him out. Last time we had Cropgate in Denver, that was not a good thing.
I'm going to stand right here. Am I cropped out or am I just barely in the camera? Hi.
I blame Instagram. I feel like if we got the full photo, he'd be in there. I blame Instagram on this one. The water and oil thing, though, was very interesting, D-Mac. And I've seen a lot of comments today about trading MPJ, a lot of them. But the question is, do you want MPJ to be a shooter or do you want him for his defensive skills? And during this playoff run, his defensive skills have indeed helped this team, whether he has made his three-pointers or not, and we can all agree on that.
Listen, there's two things that I guess I want more in life.
His rebounding has helped the team. His closeouts on three-pointers have been embarrassing. There's a viral video last night on the three where MPJ's just standing there. And everyone's like, what is he doing? And KCP looks at him like, we just spent 3 days working on this, and you're just standing there. So, Rachel, I agree with you. He's hitting the boards, which I like. His ability to close out is non-existent.
I will agree with you on that. D-Mac, continue.
I want 2 30s. I want Justin Fields to throw for 30 touchdowns, and I want Michael Porter Jr. to have 30 points on 5 of 8 3-point shooting. I mean, I guess I need some of these moments to validate my goodwill and a belief in athletes rather than like dumping all over them. I'm trying to lift them up a little bit. So I proclaim myself the beacon of hope and light rather than,
But if this was Russell Wilson, it'd be a whole other conversation, ladies and gentlemen. It'd be a whole other conversation. Michael Malone
does say, how much time we're even talking about this. You had the performance of Jokic and Murray, which was absolutely historic. Okay, it wasn't the greatest game for Michael Porter Jr., but it was okay. It was just kind of an okay game. Game 2 was bad, and game 1 was great.
You want to know why I feel like the historic dynamic duo of Jokic and Jamal isn't being like all over everywhere? Because you expect that. Well, first of all, I'm not shocked by Jokic's stat line at all from last night because I'm like, oh, it's another big game for Jokic. Congratulations. For Jamal Murray, it was like, you got to show up. You said it yesterday, D-Mac, and I'll give you credit because I wasn't on that whole bandwagon. I didn't think Jamal was going to have a good game. I thought the moment was going to get too big. You were correct, but you expected out of those two. But Michael Malone says we did not come down here to get one win. So what do you need to see from the Denver Nuggets tomorrow night in Game 4, Will Peterson?
Well, Jokic and Murray need some help beyond Christian Brown and to some extent Aaron Gordon. Let's give him his flowers. He did have a good game last night, but KCP.
Except at the free throw line.
What's that?
Except at the free throw line.
Yeah, no, he's got to make free throws. That's a good point. And he missed 3 layups in the first 2 minutes of one of those quarters, either the second or the third quarter. I can't remember. But no, it was the second quarter. Now that I say that, because the third quarter is when Miami looked like a summer league crowd. It was embarrassing, and the Nuggets put the foot on the throat. That was great. But Jokic and Murray need help from either MPJ, KCP, or Bruce Brown, because when those three are on, they have that ability to stretch the floor that Christian Brown, Jeff Green, Aaron Gordon aren't really providing you. The Nuggets have not really, outside of Jamal Murray and Jokic, hit their threes from their role players in this series. I would love to see D-Mac's theory come true and MPJ hit 5 threes. But Brown, not Christian, Bruce, KCP, and MPJ, they need to make shots. That's how the Nuggets win game 4.
Bruce Brown has been a little quiet in the NBA Finals. For somebody that had...
yes. I mean, listen, what do they need to do? They didn't even shoot all that well, yesterday. But what was extraordinary was their defense. And they were able to just take the ball and turn and burn up the court the other way. What was great, too, is I know what Will's talking about missing a couple of layups. And I noticed it, too. Like, anytime they had a lost possession, okay, a turnover, maybe a bucket they should have had, almost every single time it didn't hurt them on the other end. Almost every single time that happened, the Heat missed as well. And that's why the Heat never really got on any kind of serious run. I mean, I guess the most serious run is the Nuggets were up 21 and it kind of got down to 12, I think. But that almost happened in kind of weird little garbage time. And then the Nuggets built it back up. There really just wasn't anything all that serious that came out of the Nuggets' mistakes or mishaps from the Heat side of things. So what do the Nuggets have to do? They could actually shoot better. They really can. I could see a game where the Nuggets actually score. Listen, if the Nuggets they were terrible from three. If they hit 4 more 3-pointers, then, we're talking about 120 plus points. I mean, that's
I feel like we've been saying that for every game of this NBA Finals. I feel like, if they shoot better, then this can happen. And I feel like that's just a conversation we're having over and over again. So we need to
because we have not really had a great outside shooting game yet from the Nuggets. It hasn't happened. And they're one of the better outside shooting teams in the NBA. How scary is that for Miami, by the way? So, listen, what Miami has to do is figure out Jokic and Murray. And good luck, okay? Good luck on that. And I know their numbers. I mean, that was a historic night. So you can't expect another historic night. But it is not crazy to think one of these guys gets 28 and another one of these guys gets 35. Their overall point total they put in together is not crazy. It's not crazy for Jokic to have double digits assists. Jamal Murray having 10 rebounds is insane. I mean, 6 rebounds is wow for Jamal Murray. 10 is ridiculous. And even a lot of assists for Murray isn't all that usual. But still, if Jokic gets another triple-double per usual, Jamal goes for 34 points with 6 assists and 6 rebounds. That's still a blowout, guys. That's a blowout just in a little bit of a different fashion.
Okay, so real quick, do we believe, honestly, that game 2 was just about the effort? Are we going with what Michael Malone said, and it was just the effort, and it had nothing to do with how the Heat played the Nuggets?
It had nothing to do with the effort. It was execution on defensive coverages and hot shooting by the Heat. It had zero to do with the effort, but that's a nice thing to say. And if you just want to say, well, they didn't close out this, that, the other thing, I'd make the argument the Heat had plenty of open shots to make threes yesterday, and they just didn't, because it's hard to go 50% from 3. That's why it's worth an extra point. What we saw in game 2 was extraordinary by Miami in terms of shooting. It was above their average, above their norm, okay? And it came in the fourth quarter. Specifically, you went on a run by stupid Duncan Robinson, right? So, I mean, they didn't let Duncan Robinson kill them in the fourth until, seriously, there was 2 minutes to go, and the guy was just throwing up prayers when nobody cared.
Well,
sorry, I have to sneeze, and I don't want to sneeze on camera.
If you need to scoot, Jake sneezed on camera earlier too.
No, but I think it passed. We're feeling better now. It wasn't effort. It was miscommunication. And that was the thing that got lost in that whole post-game presser. Is it looked like effort maybe to Malone because guys were getting open threes. They weren't getting open threes because guys weren't hustling. They were getting open threes because of miscommunication. So that's that. I'm glad we can put game 2 to bed, though. I think game 2 is firmly in the past now. We've seen game 3. We are moving on in this series. But, D-Mac, we arrived at the same conclusion. You had a long, good response with a bunch of different points, but you said exactly what I said. If the Nuggets shoot better in game 4, they're not losing. So that's the key to game 4. I think D-Mac and I feel the same. Make shots, and it could get ugly. I mean, they haven't made shots since the Lakers series, guys. The rest versus Russ thing hadn't really mattered other than the shooting. The shooting looks rusty.
You know, the Heat guys have been embarrassed in the playoffs a couple of different times, more than a couple of different times. They haven't really been embarrassed by the Nuggets yet. Not really. I mean, I'm talking embarrassing. Like the Nuggets embarrassed the Suns in the first quarter, outscoring them 81-51 in the first half of Game 6. Guys, that could be coming around the corner for the Heat. And it looks stronger and stronger that we could have a championship moment in Game 5. And that's what the home crowd was deprived of with the Avalanche and the Lightning, which sucked. You know, it was great they got in Game 6. But let's not snooze on the fact there were 18,000 plus at Ball Arena to watch the game on TV. I mean, that is phenomenal. This town really cool. is bursting at the seams for the Denver Nuggets.
And Jake said that down there in Miami that it was louder than he's heard Ball Arena, so we need to step that up come Monday night. Of course, we're going to break down what we expect to happen tomorrow night for Game 4. You guys, I'm so excited. I'm like, I'm ready for tomorrow night already. We hope you all have a wonderful Thursday, and we'll be back. Huge shout out to Jake Shapiro and Will Peterson, too. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Bye, everybody.